Turn it on. Many years ago at a dealer meeting, guy says, how can we help you dealers? What will help to bring sales into your organization? How can we help to spawn that? And one of the comments was, well, you could make things that don't last so long so we could sell a new one. And so here's a shining example of that. Yesterday I got a call from an outfit called Laugh Factory. Nobody ever heard of that, right? Cool. And they said, gee, our system's broken. It quit. It's dead. And I said, oh, you planned that one well, didn't you? And so they had, yeah, I went down and looked at it. It was a dead system, no question about it. It wasn't Panasonic. It was another brand. And so I said, well, here's the deal. You know, how quickly do you need this back up? Well, I mean, when is your peaks? When is your valleys? Well, it's mostly on the weekend. I said, okay, well, it's Wednesday. I can put some numbers together for you, put something in, but I need a day or two to get parts, and that's right in the middle of your weekend. So you're going to probably enjoy a lot of phone calls on your cell phone. You did forward to your cell phone, didn't you? Oh, yeah, I got to do that. Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, that's good. So I basically crunched some numbers, sent it to him. Oh, the boss is in New York. I'm thinking, well, then maybe I'll have parts, maybe I won't. You know, that's just how it goes. So sometimes things happen very suddenly, and you know, when it goes down, it goes down. So a lot of that has to do with, well, what are you able to do for them when that happens? And because there was no decision maker to make any kind of decision, I was a little bit not able to do the service-oriented things that I like to do. Jump right in and get it fixed, put something in there. I've got spare systems, it's not a big deal. I once worked with a dentist that I met in La Tip 30 years ago, and his system sustained water damage from the floor above when something broke. Water comes down through the roof, washed the system, not good for electronics. Okay? That was 4 o'clock on Friday. Noon Saturday, he had a system in there working. It was a temporary system, it didn't matter because he can make phone calls, he can receive phone calls. Okay? Well, that's the most critical part of that communication spectrum. So, that being said, I was a little concerned that I wasn't able to actually do everything I could do for these people. They weren't in a position to make the decision to say, yeah, I'll support you, you do it, I'll pay you. You know, part of what I like to have happen in a transaction. So, yeah, funny thing about that. Yeah, it is. That's what I thought. Yeah, it took me a while to quit being a nice guy. I had to be a little more of a business guy occasionally. So that was one of the things that I wanted to mention. I got a call from Panasonic this week that says, well, you're one of our super dealers, rah, rah, rah. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, what do you want? You know, well, we're going to have this big summit in June. We want you to come to Florida. And I'm thinking, oh, great.
All
lovely.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they'll take care of everything except the flight. So I started looking into that a little bit, and I don't know. That's
probably a game of golf.
There was no golf. That was an offering once before. They had a deal that they said, okay, stay over Sunday, you know, and you can either play golf. I said, okay, I'm good with that. Or you can fly up and down the beach in a 182 Cessna. Yes. I said, been there, done that. And or you could have free time or something else that was worthless. So I played golf, and then we went ahead and won our little tournament and got $100 each, and all was good. You know, it was fun. Some of the guys on the team had brought their clubs from the Midwest. They drove, so yeah, it's fine. So that's another component of things that are going on in the world. The looks good on you, Sean. Yeah, that looked good. Yeah.
That's just your
yeah. And so the other thing that's going on is I've mentioned the apps a few times, the cellular apps. I left it over there. What does that cellular app really do for you? Well, if you think about the phone on your desk, it's an extension. Okay, it has an extension number, 101 or 307 or 209 or something. Okay, this app on your phone does exactly the same thing, but it's a different number. Well, why is that a great idea? Well, because If I want to transfer a call to you and I know that you're available, or I just want to find out if you're available to take a call that called in from the office, I can transfer that call right to your cell phone. So now you've received that call, okay, and it looks like you're in the office, okay, at 80 miles an hour. So then, if you said, well, just a minute, I'll give this other person a call, and you call out from that app, it calls sending your office number. So it looks like you're in the office. That person doesn't have your cell number. Many people in the business world don't want their cell number out to the general public. Service people more inclined to give up that information, but a lot of business professionals, don't want to do that. So when I mentioned that to the doc this week when I upgraded his system, he doesn't want his personal cell number out to all these little ladies that are just having babies, in Beverly Hills. So, yeah, there you go. You're good. So he's pretty excited about that. He also mentioned, which might come into play for some people, what about HIPAA? No, not that HIPAA. The other HIPAA, the part where the medical guys have to talk on the phone and they don't want to divulge information. Well, what his guy set him up with was a little VPN to his phone, so he can use that VPN. Now he has that secure connection, so if he was having a conversation about a patient that has sensitive information, it would be secure. So all of that's, all of that's good. So those are a couple of 3 things that are going on. I didn't bring a bunch of phones in today. One of the reasons, because I was going to set something up here, and I did some testing back there on a cable, only to find out that it doesn't look like it's friendly. There's power on the cable, but it looks like whoever's running IT has got this locked down so tight that I can't really set up some equipment. So running over verbally the kind of equipment that I generally deal with, I've been doing Panasonic PBXs for years. I've done other types of PBXs. And I also am working into a couple of different areas of hosted solutions. So the hosted solution says, well, I don't have a PBX on-prem, everything's in the cloud. And when I mentioned that to the little gal yesterday, well, what if your internet goes down? I said, well, then, it doesn't ring here, okay? It's got to go somewhere. Well, it turns out that the Laugh Factory has another location, so it'd be perfect to set them up that says, oh, this one's down, let it ring to a different place. So there's coverage if you have that kind of resource, okay? Good flexibility and a dynamic. But again, it's down locally, so that's a problem. Whereas if you have the PBX on site and you had, let's just say you had a factory, and all of a sudden you notice that there was a need for the fire department. You might want to put it out over the paging that says, evacuate in an orderly manner, please. Okay. Well, if you're on a hosted solution, you can't get to the PBX to make that page. So you're kind of not as good in that sense of the word. And mathematically, if you said, well, it costs you nothing to get started in a hosted solution, but it costs you something in a PBX world, probably the first, over a 5-year amortization schedule, probably the first year and a half, you're going to pay for hardware. Okay, and for the next 4.5 years, you're not. So there's some various benefits there. I have a customer that called me the other day and says, we're not going to be in Santa Monica anymore. I'm going to have, Dad's going to be in Boston. I'm going to be in New York. Another guy's going to be in Pennsylvania. And Dad wants a phone in his house in Cape Cod. Well, it doesn't work so well for a PBX, but I put them together. I put them up on a provider, and they'll all have that. Oh, and the receptionist, the secretary, she's going to answer on her cell phone. All of them will still have the same connectivity, the same flexibility, okay, as that they have now on a PBX, but they'll take that outside, and because they're going to be so diversified, I really don't want to, I can do that kind of thing on PBX, I just don't want to do it. It's much easier to do it in a hosted solution in that world. I have been playing with different hosted providers, and Sean and I together have learned that not all hosted are equal. Some of them are measurably better. That's a nice word, right? Measurably better, good word? Okay, all right. John's got the real experience, he lived it. Okay, I just found it and then found it and found it and moved him along and got him to a better place. He was kind of spoiled because he started at PBX that has all the features, has all those kind of things, and so when he came up with something a little less, it was noticeable. So basically, in the phone side of life, we've got the hosted solutions, we've got the premise-based solutions, and each has a benefit sometimes, and other times not so much. You just kind of have to look at what you're doing. A lot of the driving force is your reoccurring phone bill. If your phone bill is high, chances are I can reduce it substantially. Questions?
How are the quality of the VoIP lines now?
VoIP lines quality is completely dependent upon the carrier that it rides in on. When you were driving over here this morning, did you have any rough roads?
Yeah.
Okay. So anytime you hit rough roads, your voice is not going to be as good. It won't travel as well because it has interruptions. It's not smooth. Okay. Most of the time, and I did this yesterday, most of the time when I'm down the lab factory, what's your internet speed? And I look at it, it's about 75 by 75 and a 4 millisecond ping time. To me, that's plenty of bandwidth to have nice smooth, assuming that there's no, it's not so shaky in the first place that it's not likely to be good. So there's a very good bet that they'd have very good service there. Obviously an outage is an outage, and that's, something you can't do anything about. But the answer is it's very good as long as the bandwidth is there to support it. You just need, that's the road that you need to be good on. Yes, sir.
We had something kind of interesting happen. We have VoIP phones from Vonage.
That's too bad.
We had a reduced speed on our internet.
Yeah.
So Eric wanted to go ahead and upgrade the speed on the internet, which we did. But nothing happened. We couldn't, and our computer connections come after the phone. In other words, we go direct into the phone, hardwired, and then we come out of the phone to our computers to get into the internet.
Right.
So anyway, we kept, trying, why not? And it was the speed, it was the capability of the phone, it's switching, I guess, or the capability of the phone to bring the higher speed in. So we had to upgrade our phones was the point.
Usually,
to make that work.
Yeah, usually the phones, well, most of them that I'm working with today
are already
gigabit throughput.
Okay.
Okay, but let me put some perspective in that. Okay, because when everybody, when they start telling me those kind of things, I scratch my head a little bit, and here's why. Okay, if I tell you 100 megabit, you kind of have a mathematical picture of what that looks like. So if I said 100K, 100,000, okay, rather than 100 million, the mathematical perspective, voice takes less than 100K to function. So unless you're saturating that environment, the likelihood of that being slowed down, or the possibility that you have some latency by the provider, okay, may be a lot more of the problem than that switch in the phone. Now, it could very well be that the phone is such a high quality that the switch is crap, and that's where you run into some problems. But most of the things that I'm working with, I've been probably putting these things in for, 15 years now on a network solution. And I don't run into that problem with everything that I've worked with.
Well, to give it the perspective, it was actually phones that Vonage would give to us based on our contract commitments. So I would imagine we're getting, only
Well, one of the things that we discussed earlier about Sean's and his experience and what I've learned is that there are various grades, and Vonage is one of them. That's just something that I've heard. Totally hearsay.
Eric chose Vonage. So.
Well, of course, he's a communication expert. I understand that. I understand. Well, so I totally agree. It's one of those things, But you tend to be more familiar with what you work with than those things that you don't. And that's where that kind of comes into play. So, any other questions? Anybody else I can help you with? Yes, go ahead.
So my business is almost entirely mobile based.
Mhm.
A couple offices. I've got any solutions for that?
Sure. The cell phone app?
Yeah.
If it rang on your cell phone and you knew it was a call from the office or from somebody, even a customer, as opposed to that, and calling out, broadcasting your office number rather than your cell number, your personal cell number, that would be an improvement, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, let me ask you a question about that. 2 locations, right?
Yeah.
Does it matter which you broadcast the number from?
No.
Okay, so then that's probably the only point of contingency that I would come into mind and say, which one's he going to broadcast? Which one does he want to represent that he's at the time? So you can answer the phone anytime, even after hours, and come in.
What I currently have set up is the office number is the same number for both offices.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I call the app, it broadcasts the same number.
Right. That's what you want to do, is you want to broadcast that same number to be sure that you're doing that, because you don't want your cell number out there. Another area that comes into play with the cell solutions is I've got an outfit that does, their company's called Garden View, but they do pools and really nice backyards and that kind of stuff. Well, you've got supervisors, job A, job B, job C, Now these people would have the ability to call a customer and say, yeah, we're 15 minutes out or whatever. And in doing that, they're not compromising their cell numbers. Clementine is a restaurant in Beverly Hills and just down the street from there, whatever that place is. And they have the same problem. They send a driver. And so the driver says, oh yeah, okay, I'm running a little late. Well, the next thing you know, the customer's calling that driver's cell number, not the office. So there's a lot of benefit to using that kind of thing, and that's easily done. We can help you out with that, get that squared away. Anything else? Okay, I'm only 5 minutes into my speech, so. Thank you very much.